If you can record, please record. I suppose at least two students must should record, and you can share among yourself. Right, two students are recording. Anybody wish to record? You can share among yourself later. Can you hear me properly? Okay, thank you, Ng Wei Xiang. Thank you. Good. Right, we'll get started. Right, good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Chai. I believe I've taught two of you before, Wong Gok Chin and Agnes Yu. The rest, I think I haven't seen. Right, the subject is business ethics for investment profession. Right, so basically today is just an introduction to this subject, right? So basically I will talk about what are ethics, right? And how has it evolved, and what are the code of ethics and the standards of professional conduct? Right. So basically, why must we have ethics in finance? Okay. Now, the first point is that ethical practices are universally beneficial and promotes investor confidence. All right. So if your practice is ethical, right, it would benefit basically all market participants and stakeholders, right? And this would basically lead to increased investor confidence, right, in the global markets. Okay. Right. And the second point is that right, your clients, right, clients' interests are your top priority. Okay. So that's why in this course, right, even though your employer is the one who employ you, right, your client, your employer's client are your actual ultimate employer. Okay, because without your clients, there's no business, right? So that's why your clients' interests are your top priority. All right. So if your integrity is kept intact, right? And if you behave properly, right, run, right, they will benefit from reputational capital, right? You keep your capital, your reputation intact, right? So with this sort of notion in mind, right, your clients are reassured that the investment professional that they hire have the client's best interests in mind, right? And the investment professionals will benefit from the reputational capital, such integrity generates. So that's why integrity is the key word here. It's the big word. All right. So, so ethical practices, in a way, it will instill public trust in the fairness of markets. Okay. So ethical practices will instill, a public trust in the fairness of markets, right? Allowing them to function efficiently, right? So in short, good ethics, right, is a fundamental requirement of the investment profession. All right. So for these reasons here, right, we must have ethics in finance. Okay. Right. So now I talk a bit about the evolution of the code and standards. Right. So basically, the code and standards were created in 1960s. Okay. And since that time, right, these ethics serves as a model, right, for measuring the ethics of the investment professional globally, right? So regardless of job function, cultural differences, or local laws and regulations. Okay. Right. So the mission of these codes and standards, right, is basically to set high standards of education, integrity, and professional excellence. Okay. So by education here, right, basically we mean, we are trying to have a certain level of competence, right? And so basically the CFA, right, will produce CFA charter holders, right? So it's a very high level education. So this would ensure competence, right? And the code of standards, right, would promote integrity, right? So together, right, education and integrity, you have professional excellence, right? So basically this is the mission, right, of the CFA Institute. Right. And uh, well, the standards are occasionally reviewed, but for the last few years there has not been much revision, so it has been updated, right? So anyway, the CFA will provide updated cases, the latest cases regarding how the standards or the code has been violated and what are the punishments, right? So you will always have the latest issue. So the CFA Institute will publish the latest news, and this will provide the latest guidance. All right. So the code and standards will provide a universal measure of integrity. So in the finance industry all over the world, right, the code and standards, every investment professionals would use the code and standards, right, as a universal measure of integrity. Okay. So violations, right? Violations may result. Okay. Not always. It depends. Right. So Usually it will result in disciplinary sanction or may result, not always. Right, so basically, the code of ethics, right, there are 6 concepts. Now, to pass this subject, right, basically, the concept, you must understand the concepts, right? You must know how to articulate the concepts. You must understand the concepts fully, okay? And we will apply these concepts to the cases, right? So in your lecture notes, which I've posted on e-learning, right, lecture 1 to 9, right, in there will be some suggestions of recommended procedures, right? So these recommended procedures, you have to read it carefully, right? These are just suggestions, and as to how, in each of the cases that we go through, how the protagonist, right, inside the cases should behave, right? And if you're asked to for some recommendations, right? So these recommended procedures in my lecture notes, right, will serve as a guide, for you to give suggestions. All right. So what I've said uh, just now, right, is very important for you to pass your exam. Right. So basically, the 6 concepts, right? Right. So basically, the big word here, right, is integrity. Right. Integrity is a very big word. Integrity covers everything. All right. So integrity covers actually competence, diligence, respect, whatever, honesty. All right. Integrity is the biggest word. So basically, as an investment professional, you must act with integrity. That's the first word, right? Competence, right? That means you should know what you're doing. Diligence, that means enough effort, right? And respect, right? So you must act with integrity, competence, diligence, respect, right? And in an ethical manner, right? With all stakeholders, right? All stakeholders, right? In the global marketplace. That's the first concept. Second is you must place integrity. Again, you see the word integrity of the investment professionals and interests of clients above self-interest. All right. So the investment profession, right, and the interest of clients comes first before your interest. And the third point is you must use reasonable care, right? And you must exercise independent professional judgment. Okay, bear in mind, right, these 2 points, right? When conducting investment analysis and making investment recommendations, taking investment actions, and engaging in other professional activities. Right, so these words that I've underlined are the key words. Right, the fourth concept, right? Practice in a professional and ethical manner that will reflect credit, right, on oneself and the profession. That means, in other words, don't be a black sheep, right? Be a good role model, right? Practice properly because your actions reflect yourself and the investment profession in general. Okay. Fifth, promote integrity. Again, the word comes up again. Integrity of, right, and uphold the rules governing the capital market. All right, this is quite straightforward. Number 6, Right. So this is what education, I was talking about education, right? So basically, even after you got your CFA, you got a degree, you got a CFA, right? You still need to maintain and improve your professional competence, right? Yeah, of yourself and of other professionals, right? I mean, your team, right? Especially if you're the boss, right? So basically, these are the six basic concepts of the code of ethics. Right. So now this is just my version of the gist of the code, right? So I've used the acronym PEJMAR, right? PEJMAR, right? So P, right? The first word P here, right, refers to priority. The concept of priority, right? It simply means your client's interest always comes first, right? Your priority, right? Your client's interest always comes first. Okay. And second point, right? E, right? Encourage. All right. So not only you should act ethically, right? You should also encourage, right, your fellow professionals to act professionally and ethically, right? All right. So if everybody does that, right, it would reflect credit on yourself and the profession. So you should also promote integrity, right? And the third notion, right, is judgment, right? Basically, you should use your own independent judgment objectively, right? So that's why you should be objective, reasonable care and judgment when performing all professional activities, right? Reasonable care and judgment, right? And this is education, right? Maintain your knowledge, right? Must be up to date, right? And you should also encourage others to do the same, right? The fourth gist. And your actions, right? Actions speaks louder than words, right? So actions, right? So in your actions, you must employ, all these values, right? Integrity, competence, diligence, right? And respect, right? So your actions must be done in an ethical manner with everyone. Okay. And lastly, the rules, right? You must follow the rules, right? So the rules we're talking about here are the regulations, right? So the code and standards are also part of the rules, right? Regulations, right? Laws, right? Okay, code of conduct, constitution, right? These are rules, right? So these rules are written down to promote the integrity of the capital markets, right? So basically, we try to promote the integrity of markets by following the rules. Okay, right. So basically, in this code of ethics, right, we have a mission statement. Mission, that means what we are doing now, right? So this mission statement, this code of ethics are basically a set of guidelines, right, to govern your conduct, right? So in the last few slides that I've talked about, right, the concepts and the gist behind the code of ethics, right, forms the guidelines to structure the standards of professional conduct. All right. All right. So in this subject, we will talk about the code of ethics. Right. We talk about the code of ethics, the sixth code of ethics. I mean, yeah, the code of ethics, right? These will provide the guidelines for the standards of professional conduct. So basically, we will have six standards here, right? Six standards of professional conduct. So you must know in detail, right, the six standards of professional conduct, which are covered in this subject. right? So basically, these standards, right, would basically form the constitution. So these are the rules, right? The regulations, right? Now, by the constitution, these are not laws, right? So, I mean, the law is a separate set of code, right? So in here, we are talking about the standards of professional conduct issued by the CFA Institute. Okay, so these basically regulate the behavior of the investment professionals, right? So in other words, it's called the Constitution. Okay, so the mission statement here basically is what investment professionals should do, right? Is to abide by a code of ethics. That's the mission, right? And these standards, right? These standards of professional conduct here would provide the guidelines. Okay. Right. So basically, we have 6 standards of professional conduct here. All right. The first standard will govern professionalism. Right. So basically, you should know the law. You know, as a so as a professional, you should be independent, objective, right? And there shouldn't be any misrepresentation or misconduct. All right. So this is what is meant by professionalism. Right. The second point, you talk about integrity of capital markets. Right. So basically, you should protect the capital market. Okay. Protect the integrity. Right. So now these two, right? You have duties and duties, right? You have duties. So you have duties to client, duties to employer, right? So one is down, one is below you, sort of, one is above you, right? Duties to client, duties to employers, right? So normally these two, we will be talking about conflict of interest. So there'll be some conflict of interest here, right? And here we also talk about conflict of interest, okay? Right? So 3, 4, and 6, there'll be issues of conflict of interest. Right? So 5 is about investment analysis, recommendations, and actions, how you should conduct yourself pertaining to these issues. All right. So basically, we're just dealing with 6 standards. Now, these 7 standards we are not covering in this course because you're not a CFA member now. Right, so this number 7 will apply to you after perhaps you've got your CFA. Right, so responsibilities as a CFA, right, this is not in the course, right? So we are covering only these 6 standards. Right, so standard 1 would cover, right, 4 subsections, right? Right, knowledge of the law. Okay, so this is the most basic. You cannot say you don't know the law, right? If you don't know the law, you're not a professional. So knowledge of law is very important, the most basic issue, right? So, and to be a professional, you must be independent and objective, right? This is what professionalism is about. And there must not be any misrepresentation, right? There must not be any misconduct. That is being a professional. Right, so by knowledge of the law, right, basically you must understand and comply, right? Understand and comply, right, with all applicable laws, rules, and regulations. Okay. Now, if you violate the rules and regulations, right, rules and regulations, probably you'll be disciplined. But if you violate the law, right, you go to jail. Right. So I hope you can draw the distinction between laws, rules, and regulations. Okay. Right. So, but nevertheless, right, these are drawn up by usually by the government, right? Some regulatory organization, right? Some licensing agency, or maybe a professional association. Okay. So, in the event of conflict, so these laws, rules, and regulations, sometimes you may have some conflict, right? So, if there is conflict, right, you must comply with the stricter law, rule, or regulation, whichever. Right? So you must go abide by the stricter version. All right. So in the event of conflict, you must abide by the stricter version. Right. The third point is you must not knowingly participate or assist, right? You must not knowingly participate or assist, right, in the action. Right. And if you know, right, you must dissociate from any violation of such laws, rules, or regulations. All right, so this is the requirements of 1A. All right. Right, so 1B, right, is about independence, objectivity. Okay, now the key words is you must use reasonable care and judgment to achieve and maintain. So your objective is basically independence and objectivity in whatever you do. Right, so to maintain your independence, objectivity, right, this is what you should or shouldn't do, right? You must not offer, solicit, or accept any gift, right? Because this will compromise your independence, right? And if you do offer, solicit, or accept any gift, right? So there's some sort of conflict of interest here, right? Accept any gift, benefit, compensation, or consideration that reasonably could expect to compromise, right? So your independence and objectivity is compromised, can be compromised by all these gifts, right? Can be compromised. All right. So in other words, you must not allow your independence and objectivity to be compromised. Okay. Is that clear? Right. 1C, misrepresentation. Right. You know what is misrepresentation, right? You must not knowingly misrepresent any investment analysis, recommendations, actions, or other professional activities. So you must not knowingly misrepresent. Okay, anything. And misconduct, right? You must not engage in any professional conduct, right? So misconduct, what is misconduct, right? Is dishonesty, fraud, or deceit. 1, 2, 3, or the fourth one, right? Commit any act, right? That reflects adversely, right? Badly on their professional reputation, integrity, or competence. Okay, so this is the gist of 1D. Right, the second standards would cover 2A and 2B. Right, so 2A would deal with material, non-public information. Right, material, non-public information. So in here, right, you'll be talking about the mosaic theory. Right, I will talk about the mosaic theory later. So in here, you'll be talking about the mosaic theory and how is the mosaic theory applied in 2A. right? And the second point about market integrity is market manipulation, right? So these two issues, right, basically would affect the integrity of the capital market. Okay, we'll go into detail later. So material non-public information, right? Material, that means it's quite substantial, right? Non-public, it hasn't been released to the public, right? So there's two parts here, material and also non-public. Okay, material, non-public. Right, so in other words, right, if you this will basically, because material non-public information, if you have it, right, you could misuse it, right, to your advantage, right? So basically 2A is to prevent misuse of material non-public information, right? So anybody who possess material non-public information, right, that could affect the value of investment, right? So that this is basically is a criteria. Material non-public information, it would affect the value of investment, right? If you have it, right, you must not act or cause others to act on the information. All right, so basically 2A would ensure that you don't do this, right? You must not act on material non-public information, or you cause others to act on the material non-public information. Okay, this is what 2A is about. Right, 2B, market manipulation, right? When you manipulate the market, that means you're trying to manipulate the price, right? So basically you must not engage in practices that distort the price, right? Manipulate the price, all right? Or manipulate the trading volume, or artificially inflate the trading volume. Okay, that means that means it's fake buying and selling. It's just to create impression of volume, right? And the intention basically, right, is to mislead the market participants, right? So this is basically what market manipulation is about, 2B. Okay. Right. So the third point, right, is duties to clients, right? So you have 3 and 4, right? Duties to client, and 4 is about duties to employer, right? So your duty to client, basically there's 5 issues here, right? You must have loyalty, prudence, and care. You must exhibit, the virtues of loyalty. You must be loyal to your client. You must be prudent. You must be careful in your dealing, and you must have fair dealing, right? Fair, the keyword is fair. Your dealing must be fair. And suitability is about suitable advice, right? You advise suitable products, right? Suitable investment schemes for your client. This is what suitability is about, right? So this is your duty to client. And in your performance presentation, right, you must not mislead. Okay, you must be accurate in your performance presentation to your client. Lastly is the issue of confidentiality, right? Your clients have a lot of confidential information with you, right? So basically, you must preserve, the confidentiality of your client. I mean, preserve the information about your client. All right.